Hello and welcome to our first lecture in arts management. Before we get started, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. If you haven't read my discussion thing yet. Um, my bachelor's degree is in theater, like I said in the other video, and my master's degree is in arts leadership. So my frame of reference is usually performing arts. So when I use examples, as I'm sort of lecturing, I will probably mostly use performing arts terms. Um, uh, if it bothers you, let me know, and I will do what I can to make that not happen. I will also say that right now my cat is running around in this room, so he may make an appearance in this video. I'm not exactly sure where he is right this second, but just thought I would talk about the cat in the room, like an elephant. I'm hilarious. Just wait. You'll get used to how hilarious I am. All right. Ooh, that's me. That's not what we wanted at all. Ha-ha! All right. So let's talk about management and the arts. So if you have read Chapter 1, the Arts Management Overview, you've read a lot of what we are going to talk about today. So management in the arts. This first chapter is really an overarching chapter about just overall management and the arts and where the arts fit in the ecosystem of the world. And just does some defining of things for you to help you understand what we're talking about. All right. So the arts are part of an interrelated systems designed to share forms of expression in a society. Wow, that's really thick. The arts are part of interrelated systems designed to share forms of expression in a society. That's tough, huh? What all that really means is that there are lots of different systems that exist that help us express ourselves as a society. And when we talk about systems in this context, we're talking about an interconnected set of elements that is coherently organized in a way that achieves something. So, for example, there's a transportation system. It's a lot of interconnected things that go together to help you do something, right? So those things, they are organized in a way that helps you get from one place to the other, right? If you went to school today, you probably got on a train or a bus or in your car, and you made your way through the transportation system to get where you wanted to go. Okay, so within systems, we have organizations. And organizations are collections of people working together to achieve a common purpose to support the dissemination of the they're just all working together. Organizations are collections of people working together to achieve a common purpose. So an organization could be a formal organization, something that's like a 501c3, and that's a nonprofit. An organization could just be a group of artists all working together toward the same project. An organization could be just you and your advisor working together to getting something up on the walls. An art organization, however, supports the dissemination of the forms of expression. So when we talked about earlier with the forms of expression, the ways we express ourselves as a society. So there are lots of different ways that we do that. The NEA published a study called How Art Works, and the study helps demonstrate the relationships between the systems and organizations engaged in the creation of the arts and the benefits to individuals, society, communities, and the economy. Really what this, and we'll look at it now. What this is it's a map. So it's a map of the system that supports the arts, within our society. So what you can see is this is arts participation. So these are people going to see the arts. This is arts creation. These are people who are creating art, people who paint, people, actors, directors, people who are creating art. These are people who are seeing art. Anytime you see yellow, that is art going somewhere. So art, the benefit of art to individuals, art does this, right? So, and then that creates a benefit back to the arts itself. This is a benefit of art to society and communities, right? This is direct and indirect economic benefits of art. We talk about this a lot when we're talking about advocacy, like talking about, I can tell you that Harris County is a $1.1 billion nonprofit art industry, right? So that's a big number. And that affects the way we can do art here in Harris County. And then you have, the indirect, the broader social impacts of art, right? So you have societal capacities to innovate. So if we have more art, then we're more able to think in a creative way and to express our ideas. We have new forms of self-expression, new ways to be who we are. The arts help us have outlets for creative expression. So it helps us to be more creative and have outlets for our feelings. From there, we have arts infrastructure. That's the things like, the NEA, which we'll learn about. Those are the things like grant making and arts management and this class. So that's all part of arts infrastructure. And the human impulse to create and express is, of course, the biggest thing. It's why arts exists at all, and why this system map exists is because we all have a natural impulse to create and to express ourselves. This is a really great system map, and I encourage you to look at it. There's a lot of great information about this map at the NEA website. There is a couple of links in your textbook to other videos who explain it better. All right. So arts managers in the 21st century are part of a global network of people working in the creative industries. So just for a second, I want you to think about, what is a creative industry? Let's see how many creative industries we can name. Let's think about it. Graphic design, the arts, right? So like the capital A arts, right? That would be what? Painting, photography, dance, opera, theater, symphony. Those are all creative industries. What else is a creative industry? What haven't I said? How about writing, right? So book writing, movies are part of the creative industry. Sometimes doing people's hair and nails could be part of the creative industries. Anything where people are sort of creating something out of nothing, that is the creative industry. Those are creative industries. And art managers are a part of the larger creative industries now. So this encompasses a wide range of activities that combine the creation, production, and commercialization of content, which are intangible and cultural in nature. These contents are typically protected by copyright and to forms of goods and services. There's a couple of books there recommended to you by the person who wrote this book, which means they'll probably be dry, just like this one. Before we move on, I do want to say that normally when we use the word culture, what we are doing is using the capital C word, culture, right? So culture, as in if you call someone cultured, what you're saying is they have an idea of the capital A arts, right? They go to the opera or the theater, they do music. They do music? That's not even how you say that. They make music? They go to the symphony? All right, we'll just move on from that awkward thing that I said. So anyway, when you say somebody is cultured, that's what you're referring to. In this class, we won't say that, because what that is that's a very specific culture, right? And the definition of culture is much broader than that. When you think about culture itself, culture is the customs, arts, social institutions, and achievements of a particular nation, people, or other social group, okay? What that means is any group of people can create a culture. There is a Hispanic culture in our society. There is an African American culture. There is a Caucasian culture. There is nerd culture. There's all these different kinds of culture, and to refer to someone as cultured, I think is a really derogatory way to sort of really downplay what we do as arts managers. So if I see you doing that, I will call you out on it, because culture is so much larger than that. But we do talk about the arts, and so let's go back to that. All right. So arts managers can be found in a wide variety of areas, right? So arts and humanities councils, that's kind of what I do. I work for the Houston Arts Alliance. Consulting services. So consulting services can be anything from, helping arts organizations to be the best arts organization they can be, or you could be an art consultant to rich people, which means you tell them what the good art is and where they should invest their money. Dance companies, right? Film and television, museums and galleries, music. So, Beyonce has a manager. That is an art manager. But also there are arts managers within the symphony. The opera, presenting organizations. That's really anyone that presents anything. So like the Society for Performing Arts doesn't really make anything, but they present things, right? The recording industry. So when Beyonce goes to record, her manager helps her decide what to record, but then within the organization that records, there are arts managers. Arts and culture service organizations. That is things like Fresh Arts that we have here in Houston. Fresh Arts does programming targeted to artists and arts organizations. Theater, festivals, fashion, special events, theme parks, cultural tourism. All these things are parts of the creative economy, and this is where you could be an arts manager. And it ranges in everything from commercial to nonprofit to volunteer. One thing I didn't see here is art galleries. That's another place where there are arts managers. All right, so there are 4 functions of management: planning, leading, organizing, and controlling. And as we go through this course, we will talk about each of those in depth. But the 4 main types are planning, leading, organizing, and controlling. The one that most people think is what managers do is organizing, but there is also the planning, the leading, the organizing, and controlling. I'm saying this repeatedly because it may come back up. Who knows? All right. So managers are the people who directly support, supervise, and help activate the work efforts and performance accomplishments of others. Ooh, that sounds boring, right? Directly support, supervise, and help activate the work efforts and performance accomplishments of others. So that means that if you're an arts manager, it's your job to organize people and things and help an organization achieve its goals and objectives. So you really got to think about all the things that go into a production or a piece of art or whatever it is, and you pull them all together and you make them work in an efficient way to achieve the goals, right? So a director, a stage manager, a lighting designer, any of those are arts managers. A choreographer, a curator, all of those are arts managers, okay? And like we said before, we're going to talk about arts organizations, right? So managers function within an organization. And an organization is a collection of people working together in a division of labor to achieve a common purpose. We talked about that a little bit earlier. So this is the way that we create art, right? And the output of an art enterprise may be a performance or an exhibition, but what we do as arts managers is we figure out how best to bring people together, people and things and time and all of that together to have some sort of output, right? So arts organizations interact with external environments. That's the economic environment. What's economic? Economic is money, right? A political environment. Political, that's like who's elected, right? The demographic environment, that's the way that people are classified, gender, race, cultural ethnicity, sexual orientation. That's a demographic, right? So arts organizations interact with all these different environments, and in the process of creating work, So they do that while they create work that are shared with the communities and the people that they serve. I've decided that I kind of want you to see me, but I don't want to get in the way of the thing. And also I'm looking at my book. I do have a cat. All right, so organizations are open systems. And what does open systems mean? An open system means that things can interact with the system. A closed system would just go around and around and around like this, and nobody would be able to put any information into the system. An open system means that external factors can come into the system and affect the way the organization is, right? So these are those external environments we were talking about: economic, political, cultural, demographic, technological. That was when we didn't talk about technological, of course, is technology. So these things affect the input, then the organization happens, and then the output happens. And who runs organizations? Managers, right? So managers take all this input and work together to create the output. So for example, let's say you were in a place where there weren't a lot of actors, but you were running a theater organization. That would be a raw material, right? So that's an input. That's an external environment. It's a cultural external environment and demographic environment that would change the way that you run your theater. Maybe you would work as a manager, you would work more around actors' schedules, or maybe you would try to pick shows which use less actors, right? That is the way that you transform what you do based on the inputs, okay? And then the output, of course, is still just a production, right, in that example. If we talk about a visual arts example, let's say you were in a place like Alaska, where it's dark all the time, right? And you're a photographer. So in that example, you would want to adjust your inputs. So you would adjust your organization based on that. That means that you would work really hard during the hours that the light was out. You would probably need to spend more money on lighting and reflections and maybe photography assistance to make sure that you got what you needed based on the environment that you were in. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Shoot me an email or comment on this video, I think. I'm not quite sure how it works, but we will figure it out together, right? All right. So in arts organizations, there are many levels of management. An operational level of management, that's this right here. These are operational managers. Operational managers are concerned with the day-to-day. They are the people who are boots on the ground getting things done. Functional managers or middle managers, that's this is like the production manager. They lead a specific functional area, right? So maybe they run the costume shop or the ticket office, or maybe they like in my organization, I run a program about disaster services. So I'm a functional manager. And then there's a managing director or upper management. And upper management is things like the CEO or the artistic director, the managing director of an organization, the one that thinks about things in a much broader sense and thinks way down the road, right? So this is the people boots on the ground, right? This bottom level. This is where arts management really starts, okay? So arts management starts with operational management. Those people are usually thinking about 3 to 6 months ahead. I'm just zooming out on my face a little bit because it felt like it was real close. So these people are usually thinking 3 to 6 months out. These people are thinking maybe 1 to 2 years out. So you're thinking, how's my program going to exist a year from now? How am I going to pay all these people? Where are we in the cycle of all of the things that work together? And this person is thinking 3 to 5 years out. How long is the organization going to exist? What kind of decisions do I need to make 3 to 5 years down the road. Now, the one thing that I do want to say before we get too far into this is that we use the word management in this class, but management has a sort of negative connotation in the arts world or in the leadership world right now. Everyone who manages also leads. So all managers need to be leaders, which means that you're not just like telling people what to do, you're doing it with them. And we will talk a little bit about what that means further in the course, but I do want to say I'm not going to be encouraging you or teaching you how to be a manager. I'm going to be teaching you how to be a leader who works in management, which is different. Let me know if you have questions about that. All right, so let's go on. All right, so management is a process. See right here it says leading. Remember I told you management is also leadership, right? So the management process, like we said this before, right? It's planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. Planning, leading, organizing, controlling is the order it was in before. PLOC, if you need a way to remember it, PLOC. You just remember me saying that really weird word. Planning, leading, organizing, controlling. All of these things work together. They could there could be lines across here and to here because they don't always happen in the same order every time. So planning, we all know what planning is. That's deciding what needs to be done. Organizing is deciding how it's going to be done. Leading is deciding how people are going to get it done, or helping people to get it done, I think would be a better definition for me. And controlling it is deciding if it is getting done or not and what to do if it isn't being done. So planning is thinking ahead. Organizing is, how are we going to do it? Leading is who's going to get it done and how are they going to do it? And then controlling is, did it get done? And if it's not getting done, how can we get it done? Or maybe we don't need to do it at all. So those are the 4 basic functions of management. This is a process that continues all the time. You're never not doing this. And that, I believe, is the end. Oh, no, one more. All right, so in arts organizations, we have some really special things that happen because of the basic structure of arts organizations. Coming back up here, arts organizations generally, if they get to be this complicated in organizational structure, these operational management is going to be aligned with programming, right? So you might have things that line up with the different kinds of programming that an organization does. For example, Main Street Theater has a managing director. They have a director of education. They have a director of their adult programming and a director of their children's programming. So they have aligned their organizational structure, which we'll talk about later, with the programming, which is what happens in arts organizations. But the crazy thing about being an arts manager is that sometimes you will be all 3 of these things. You will be working as operational management, you will be working as functional management and as upper management. You could go through that in the course of an hour, because of the nature of the way that we have decided to organize our structures, which is in these functional areas, which are the programming areas, right? So if we come all the way back down here, there are 7 basic operational areas in an arts organization that are supported by the management process. These are the 7 really important things that we'll talk about over the course of this semester. And those things are planning and development. Development is also fundraising. We put them together because arts organizations are always trying to increase their revenue because we always want to fund new stuff and we always want to be more stable. Marketing and PR, marketing and public relations. This is what is the most visible thing, right? So this is what, when you see an arts organization on Facebook, or if you see an ad on the television or a flyer in your mailbox, this is all marketing and PR. Personnel management and labor relations, they're super essential. Some of the only remaining unions in the state of Texas are arts unions and our arts workers. So having someone who really understands unions if you're in a large organization is important, but also just understanding how to manage people and to lead instead of manage is a really important thing that we do as arts managers. Fiscal management, that's the money. So that's accounting and finance. I love numbers, so when we get there, I'll talk about it a lot. A lot of people find it really boring, but I'll do what I can. It's just numbers. Board relations. So every nonprofit organization has to have a board of directors, and the board of directors are the people who are really responsible for the organization, and then the people who work in the organization have to sort of interface with the board. So board relations are really important. You want to make sure that they understand what you're doing and you understand what their needs are. That's what board relations are. Labor relations, I just talked about that. Unions, some of the only remaining unions in the state of Texas are in the arts, and it goes along with personnel management. And then government relations and advocacy, which is like, talking to the Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs here in the city, or talking to the Texas Commission on the Arts, and trying to ensure that we as a system are still functioning the way that we should be functioning, that everything is going the way that you want it to go, and that you're going to be supported, and that the government isn't going to make any laws that will make it difficult for you to, let's say, bring someone in from another country, or make labor unions harder to work with. That would be advocacy and government relations. And all of these 7 operational areas, they all work together in order to align to support the mission of an arts organization. So this is, how management works. So that's kind of an overview of arts management. It's really simplified. It's really just not super complicated, because that's what the course is, right? So for the next 14 weeks, we're going to come together to talk more about all of those different functional areas. We're going to come together to talk about how you fit into those functional areas, what exactly management is, what exactly leadership is. But this is like the first overview of exactly what the semester is going to be about. So go into your Blackboard, click on discussion. There are questions in your chapter discussion, and I encourage you to answer them so you can get a good grade. As always, I am available at 281-468-0059, or you can email me at hanleyl@uhd.edu. Both of those are at the top of your syllabus, and you can reach me at either of those places. If you have any questions, I look forward to talking to you. Otherwise, you guys have a great week, and we will see each other again on Monday.